vital here. I think there's an active and a passive quality to this experience of devekut. It sounds active, but you really have to let go for it to happen. You have to open yourself. You have to be receptive. You have to open your heart. So I think there's a preparation of openness, of letting go, and then something comes to you, or you are empowered. You're empowered and able to act in a mindful way. Really, when we're talking about mysticism and spirituality, I think awareness is perhaps the most important element. So there's an active stance, an active role that you can fulfill or strive to fulfill, and there's an openness and awareness that will allow for the connection.
Great question. Cheryl has a question. So Cheryl, I'm muting you.
Hey, Danny.
Hi.
Am I on? Yeah, I guess I'm muted. In the Zohar, it seems that most of it has a lot to do with both the feminine and the masculine side and joining. But then you leave the Zohar and you get into rabbinical Judaism, Messianic Judaism, and there isn't very much about the feminine side of things or the role of women in Judaism so much. It's very much a patriarchal, masculine push through of everything. How is that one of the reasons that maybe the Zohar is not terribly popular in mainstream Judaism?
And there's an openness. It's such an interesting phrase, mainstream Judaism, and I mentioned it before myself. We're talking about Shabbat and Kabbalat Shabbat, right?
Cheryl has a question.
It's interesting. Arthur Green, I'm sure many of you know of his name and his work. He looked into this, and it's interesting. The first time you ever had that phrase, mainstream Judaism, it's in a German book in the 19th century, and that book is an attack on what? On Kabbalah. In other words, mainstream Judaism is trying to exclude what might be uncomfortable, might be challenging to the normal presentation of Judaism. So I think there is a tension between what the Kabbalah suggests and the picture you would find if you open a typical page of the Bible, a typical page of the Talmud. As we've said, you don't find God described in feminine ways in many Jewish texts. And that's one of the most radical differences between the Zohar and the Talmud or the Bible. So I would say that is one of the great contributions of the Kabbalah, to insist that God is equally male and female. Ultimately, God is beyond all gender. Okay, Ein Sof is not male or female. The infinite is beyond gender. But if we're going to talk about God, God has been talked about for so long in purely masculine terms. I think it's important to balance the masculine with the feminine, and that's the great contribution of the Zohar. I would say that in the last, 30 years, that critique of Judaism has become very widespread, and I'm sure you're aware, maybe more aware than I am, of Jewish feminism and Jewish feminists, and how Judaism has changed over the past few decades. And I think one of
John,
the changes
what you really want is somebody to listen to. So put it in the chat.
To criticize the purely
don't get angry, John. That's the consult
of God. So I think the Zohar.
Don't be angry, John. That's the consultation. Don't road rage. Look at your PTR. You like cars. I bet you're a road rager. You're here on the highway, raging on the road in that incredible Chevy Corvette.
Is valuable in that sense to look at a holy text of Judaism, to look at one of the holiest texts of Judaism does celebrate the feminine within God. I'm not saying that people have to follow the Zohar. Much of the Zohar is very difficult and challenging, but the great gift of the Zohar is that here is someone 700 years ago. All right, the Zohar was composed in Spain, was largely composed in Spain in the 13th century. So here's a book written 700 years ago that gives equal weight to the feminine. I would say that there's more about Shekhinah in the Zohar than you would find it in any other Jewish text.